Free socks.
Live via satellite from Hollywood, it's Rockline, the show where you interview the hottest stars in rock and roll. Hello again, I'm Bob Coburn. Rockline is brought to you in part by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Tonight, Rockline is an evening with Kansas. Representing the band this evening will be Phil Ehart, Steve Walsh, and Steve Morse. And by the way, this is their first interview with the current lineup. So get your questions ready and call us toll-free in the U.S. and Canada. 1-800-344-ROCK. That's 1-800-344-7625. One number toll-free from anywhere in North America. Kansas is certainly no stranger to gold and platinum. In fact, they have sold over 15 million records. Yet for a while it appeared there might be no more. But Kansas fans can rejoice because they are back with a strong album destined to satisfy old fans and win over new ones. And Rockline welcomes from Kansas, Phil Ehart. Good to see you again.
Hi, it's good to be back.
Yeah, nice to have you here. Also, you brought with you Steve Walsh. Nice to meet you. Nice to have you on the Rockline,
Thank
Steve.
You.
And guitarist extraordinaire, as he's often referred to, Steve Morse. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Hello.
And nice to meet you as well. Got a question for each of you to start off with here. We'll start with Phil. Was there a point where the band ceased to exist, or was there continuity throughout?
No, there was a point where it basically just fell apart. And it was right before our Best Of album came out. And everybody just really wanted to take a break after like 11 albums and 11 tours and everything. It was just... it was pretty crazy. Everybody just said, let's let it lie for a while and let's just see what happens. And then when it came time to put it back together, nobody showed up. So that was like, well, okay, we'll take a hint, you know. So, no, me and Richard Williams, our guitarist. Hi, Rich, if you're listening.
Who was still in the band.
Yes, yeah, Richard's still there. And he and I talked and said, let's give it another whirl, but let's infuse some new blood here, and let's give Steve Walsh a call, and let's talk to Steve Morse, and Billy Greer's now playing bass with us, and so yeah, to answer your question, it did come to a stop. I
had heard that. Steve Walsh, what prompted your return?
Well, basically, I just couldn't do without Phil and Rich. I think that we had something going when all three of us were in the same band together, and I came back because I missed that type of involvement with these guys.
And Steve Morse, what led to your involvement with Kansas?
Well, I've been a fan of the band from the very beginning. In fact, their first album, I said, this sounds like something that, I had just written. I said, I wonder where these guys are from. I wonder if they heard my music. And it turns out that it was just parallel development of one particular song. I was really drawn in as a fan for years, and when my band, the Dixie Dregs, broke up, I gave them a call and said, by the way, if you ever need a guitar player, let me know. And years later, I did finally get a call from Phil. And I felt like, hey, I can do something with this band. I relate so closely to the music that, I want to be in there, writing some more new stuff with them.
All I Wanted from the brand new album Power by Kansas. We're with Phil Ehart, Steve Morse, and Steve Walsh this evening. And our first phone call for our trio is Eric. He is in Texas in Round Rock listening to KLBJ FM 94 in Austin. Welcome to the Rockline, Eric.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
I'd like to address my question to Phil.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, how easy was it for y'all to perform after staying apart for so long?
Well, that's a good question. It was, to tell you the truth, we really haven't done any formal gigs yet. It took us about a year and a half, Eric, to put this whole album together in the band and writing the material and the actual recording. So we did go do some, you might say, some top secret gigs here that we recently just completed with the USO that we'll get into a little bit later in the show. And those were the first gigs that we played.
If nobody calls about that, I'm going to bring that up a little bit later. We'll talk about that, the third Rock and Roll Air Force review, I guess we'll call it.
That'll do.
One of a better term right now. Our next phone call is from Sacramento, California. We're going to speak with Leonard, who is listening to 93 Rock. Hi, Leonard. How are you tonight?
I'm fine. Thanks, Bob. When I hear about a new Kansas album, I just go out and buy it, since promotion for a new Kansas album doesn't seem to be necessary. Thank you guys for putting together quality material for so many years.
Well, thanks. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
My question is for Steve Walsh.
Hello.
And that is, since your keyboard music is so elaborate in Kansas, and your lyrics seem to be so important, when you're writing things, which gets precedence so that you'll be able to actually put it over live?
Well, I would have to say in the new group that I'm concentrating more on lyrics than I ever have been ever before. My involvement now as a songwriter becomes directly affiliated with Steve Morris, who came up with most of the music for our new album, Power. And I just am working very close with Steve, and like I say, my job pretty much on this new album was with the lyrical content.
The two of you collaborated on just about everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Good call, Leonard. Thanks for being on the air tonight. We appreciate it. We're going to speak with Chris now, who's listening to KY 102 in Kansas City. Hi, Chris.
Hi, how you doing? Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hello.
how you doing?
My question's for anybody in the band. Who designed your new album cover?
Well, everybody's pointing at me. This is Phil speaking. It's like more like quality control than anything else. It's we had the title Power, and we knew that it was going to have to be, of course, a powerful cover. We had a number of artists submit drawings through MCA, our record company, and we just kind of, this one that you'll be seeing, if you haven't already seen it, is a very powerful album cover, and it's a Kansas cover. I mean, we take a lot of time and a lot of work, mainly in just controlling the quality that from cover to cover, the colors are the same, and that the lyrics read correctly, the pictures on the back. It's just more or less falls into my lap most of the time, and we're real proud of it and real happy with it. It's a guy named Vartan at MCA was the art director, and did a very good job on it. We're real happy with it.
If you haven't seen the cover, it's a rather muscular blacksmith pounding steel on an anvil, done in cartoon form. Really a powerful cover. Yeah, good choice. Thanks for being on there, Chris. We appreciate it. We're going to move on now to Long Beach, California, and speak with Eric, who is listening to 95.5 KLOS. Hi there.
Hello. First of all, I'd like to tell Steve Morris that I've seen him a couple times live with his own band, and just want to say live he's been an incredible guitarist, and just looking forward to seeing you again on tour. And my first question is whether you have any other material that hasn't gotten onto the album that should be playing live.
Yeah, good question. Well, there's, in any recording or collaboration effort, you're going to my job with Kansas is to bring in as much stuff as I can that I think will fit, and the band, in order to keep their unity and just the image, the band consistent, will say, this is okay, no, not this. And so the things that they say, no, not this, I still feel strongly about personally, so I'll be, possibly using that on solo projects. Basically, my instrumental music will keep on going through solo projects and things like that, but this is the real chance to finally, pound out some rock and roll with the band.
Actually, I'd like to add to that, because Steve and I wrote a lot of material for this album. We took a year and a half to pre-produce it, before we did the album, and we wrote a lot of material that didn't make it on the album together, and also got a lot of outside material that we reviewed. So it was quite a pre-production process.
Point of No Return by Kansas. I'm Bob Coburn. You're listening to Rockline on the Global Satellite Network. Our next phone call for our members from Kansas is from Sugar Hill, Georgia. We're going to speak with Wright, who's listening to 96 Rock in Atlanta. Hello, Wright.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, fine. I'd like to ask Steve Walsh a question.
Okay.
Okay, I want to know, how has the sound of Kansas changed from the first album till now, for Power?
Well, the new album in particular has taken a real different approach to it. Basically, there's 5 of us now, and there is 2 guitarists in the band, and the concentration that we're trying to give really is with the different guitar textures in the songs that we're performing, and that has really added. Another thing that has changed is Billy Greer now is singing. He's the bass player for the band, and he is now singing with me. So we've got some really good harmony, I feel, going on. And, basically it really comes from Steve Morris, who, like I said earlier, is really writing a lot of the material and is, really, he's kind of the responsible party for the way we have evolved into what we are now. That's what I can say about that.
Steve Morse is shaking his head. No.
Like I said before, the band picks and chooses and decides its identity, and there's a very strong identity with this band. I've been in lots of other musical situations, and that's one of the things I like about this band. They know exactly, well, hey, this is a Kansas song, this isn't. And so it's the band picking and choosing.
Well, you told me you were going to give me $5 for
I said that, right? $5 is yours, but and plus, if I bring in a piece, it still gets moved around, and Steve will put a melody that I would have never thought of over it.
It's the 1986 version of the band, right? Thanks for being on the air this evening. Let's move on to Battle Creek, Michigan, and talk with Pat, who is listening to WMMQ in Lansing. Good evening, Pat.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hey, Pat. How you doing?
Good. First of all, I saw you guys at Hill Auditorium in University of Michigan. I thought you guys are fantastic. You put on one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Well, thanks. Thank you.
Great. First of all, what inspired your classical style of music?
Boy, that's always been something we could never quite figure out. I guess being on the inside of the band, people always referred, our style having a classical overtones, which I guess had a lot to do with the violin and a lot of the keyboard things that were written. And but there were none of us that were really classically trained, so it was kind of strange that I guess we just could fake real good or whatever. I'm not quite sure, but it was it was really Kerry Livgren's writing in the early days that because he listened to a lot of classical records and formulated a lot of the music around that. But Kansas basically has just always been kind of a glorified bar band. That's how we refer to ourselves, really. That's where we grew up. That's where we got our chops. We're really just playing in bars and things like that. So
in the air now. Hi, Carl.
Hi.
Hey, Carl. How you doing?
All right. I was wondering, Phil Ahart, as executive producer, who is the Philharmonia Orchestra, and who did you know at Abbey Road Studios that you recorded there?
Well, I'll tell you what. We used our producer's name's Andrew Powell, and Andrew's done a lot of extensive work with the Alan Parsons project, and also with Kate Bush, and known Andrew for quite a few years. And when we were talking to him, we were interested in some sort of orchestration, because a lot of our music has always kind of lent itself to orchestration, but we never really had ever used an orchestra, and it was something we always wanted to do. So once he became involved with the project, it was like we sat down and talked about which songs. We didn't really want to, take the songs and schmaltz them up or anything and cover them with orchestra. We wanted the orchestra to more or less support the band. And so he had worked with the Philharmonia in London before with the Parsons project. And so when it came time to mix, we mixed the album in London. And we went over there and spent a day at Abbey Road putting the Philharmonia on. And it was kind of strange. It was like, because about a year and a half ago, we started putting this album together in my basement. The five of us were sitting down there with just some, guitars and a few drums and just kind of putting the songs together. And then a year and a half later, we're standing in Abbey Road with a 70-piece orchestra playing your songs. It was like one of the neatest days, I think, in our musical careers to be able to see that actually happen in Abbey Road, of all places. What a neat place to be. So,
good call, Carl. We appreciate it. Let's move on to Neenah, Wisconsin. We're going to speak with Roland, who's listening to 106 WAPL in Appleton. Hi there, Roland.
Oh,
hey, how you doing?
good to talk to you. You're my favorite band.
Oh, great. Well, thanks.
All your albums, except the latest one.
It's on sale now.
That's right. We'll mail you one.
All right. I'm kind of interested to know, are you kind of two-part? Are you kind of pressured sometimes to try something new or to go back to the old in any way?
That is a real good question. Yeah, and Steve Morris was just talking on the break about what we've tried to do as far as this band. Steve, do you remember what you said exactly? Would you like to repeat that? Okay, well, don't then.
No, I got to say, there is some pressure to... Well, we all talked about, what is the band going to be? This is Steve Morse, by the way. Hi, Ron.
Hi, Steve. Oh, sorry.
And we decided, well, let's all work together to make this band enough like the old classic Kansas to where people recognize it, yet have enough of the new sound and just new ideas in it to where it sounds fresh.
Mesmerizing song, Dust in the Wind by Kansas from Point of No Return. Let's head back to the phones. We have a lot of callers that want to talk with the two Steves and Phil from Kansas. Next call from Minneapolis. 92 KQRS is our station, and we welcome Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hi. First of all, I'd like to say it's nice to have Steve back in the band.
Oh, thank you.
And what I was wondering about, hearing the couple songs from your new albums, it sounds, like you're getting a little more towards back to the old stuff, which I think is great. What I was wondering is your two albums, Left Overture and Point of No Return, I feel are two of the better albums ever put out in rock and roll. And then even going beyond rock and roll into classical music, with the classical overtones. And I was wondering, with many of the songs that were co-written with you and Kerry Livgren, I was wondering, did you write most of the lyrics, or were you pretty much with the music and Kerry did the lyrics, or how did that go?
Well, it was, it changed, excuse me, it changed from instance to instance. On a song like The Wall, for instance, I helped out a bit on the musical end of it. On a song like Mysteries and Mayhem, we collaborated on everything. Early on on our albums, Kerry and I were, whenever we were involved in a song together, we were pretty much involved in everything, both of us. But right around Left Overture, Kerry started writing a lot more, and I would... He seemed to have a real handle on what he wanted to do, so I would go work on my songs, and he would kind of go work on his songs, and if there was a hole in either song, we would ask each other for help or ask the band for help and everything. It kind of always got arranged by Kansas, regardless of who wrote it. I mean, I doubt if the same song would have sounded the same, being done by Kerry on a solo project or myself on a solo project. So, it was kind of like we were involved in each other's songs, but the band had a lot to do with the way the songs turned out, too, in the end.
There you are, Bob. Thanks for being on with us tonight. Let's turn it over to Jim. He's in Nashville, Tennessee, listening to 103 KDF. Hi there. Hello, Jim. I'll get it out one way here.
How you doing?
Fine. Howdy. How you doing?
How's the two Steves and the one Phil?
Great. Doing all right.
Yeah, I was a member of the Armed Forces back in April of 83 and April of 84. During that time, I understood through the Armed Forces radio network that I learned members of Kansas and Cheap Trick and other groups were supposed to perform there through a USO benefit. Well, not benefit, but shows. And I want to know which one of you three, or if you all were there, how did it turn out, and what directed you to take on to this adventure? And if you did, did you have any time to take on the sights of the Okinawa Islands? And understood that you've been here in Nashville cutting a couple of records, a couple hit songs from your records, and be looking forward to seeing you in the future.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Just speak right up.
Phil, you want to start with number 12 or 14?
Okay,
yeah,
question 13, yeah. No, really, those are good questions. We appreciate it. Yeah, this whole USO thing Kansas has been involved with for the last 3 years. In fact, we just did an around-the-world tour, and was sponsored by the USO. And this thing really came about because there was really never any major rock and roll people that ever volunteered to do any USO shows, and we just learned why. Because it's tough, and I mean it's real different. And but what we just did is we did the first ever around the world tour And when I say we, it was the 5 members of Kansas, some of the guys from Louisiana's LaRue, some guys from Pablo Cruz, the Doobie Brothers, and a new band from San Francisco called Red 7. So we all threw together and took off from San Francisco and went to Japan and Okinawa and Singapore. And then we got on an aircraft carrier and went out to sea for 7 days. And that was an experience, being moved from ship to ship by helicopters and playing aboard a lot of different military vehicles, you might say. Then it was on up into the Mediterranean, and then to Crete and Sicily, and then to Spain and the Azores, and then back in. So we covered something like 45,000 miles and 4 or 5 different oceans and 12 different ships, and all in like 30 days, 32 days.
Is this the 3rd USO tour that you've done?
This was the 3rd, and we had done 2 previous.
Now, you didn't publicize it?
No, because at the time, this was, we were putting it together, the United States action on Libya was taking place, and so that was kind of tough, because we were putting it together at the time, and we thought, is this something we want to do, or is terrorism going to get so really crazy here that we can't do the tour? So we decided to go ahead and do it, because we figured the servicemen were out there, and we were going to go do it, but we just didn't announce it and publicize it. It was kind of like we secretly got together and secretly went to Japan and rehearsed and secretly took military transport all around the world and secretly snuck back into the United States. So really nobody heard about it, and we had no problems with terrorism. In fact, the audiences were great, and it was a great time.
The logistics must have been unbelievable. Were there any instances where, you had to get on a ship in the middle of the ocean or something, and how did they get you there? And any great stories come out of that?
Well, I'll tell one, and these guys can tell their stories, but there's nothing like being shot off an aircraft carrier. Like, I'm sure everybody has just seen Top Gun, which is a big hit movie right now, so everybody's familiar, I think, with those planes being catapulted off. Well, after spending a week on an aircraft carrier, going out to other ships, well, they have to get us off somehow. We had something like, 3 or 4 tons worth of equipment, and so they put the equipment on one plane, and they put a number of us on other planes, and they moved us out in the middle of that aircraft carrier and attached us to the catapult, and you're doing like 160 miles an hour in 2 seconds.
Oh, boy.
And we were Tom Cruise, It was great. So that was one experience, but I'm sure Steve Morris has an experience that was fantastic.
Steve, tell us.
Well, okay, we were playing a supply ship that was too small for the helicopter we were on to land. So they have a winch that sticks out the side. You attach yourself to a rubber ring that's attached to the hoist and get hoisted down while he hovers over the ship. The funny thing is the ship keeps on steaming about 25 knots forward to stay with the aircraft carrier battle group. And so the guy has to hover in place while he's drifting sideways at 25 knots. It was good pilot work, but while I was coming down on the hoist, I decided, well, hey, this is a time for a picture. It was raining a little bit, but still I pulled out my guitar and played it on the way down.
It's a great picture.
And Steve Walsh, anything from you?
No, just lots of Dramamine. That was...
Yeah, I bet. There's Mike on the air with us. Hi, Mike.
How you doing, guys?
Hey, Mike. Howdy.
Good.
Just, first of all, a comment on the new album. It's really, really good, and my personal favorites are Musicato and Taking in the View. Excellent stuff.
Well, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Anyways, I have a question for Steve Morse.
Fire away.
Okay. At what time did your songwriting contributions to the Kansas albums focus? Like, were the parts written before, or did you collaborate a lot with Steve Walsh on them? And also comment on the differences that you've entailed with writing for Kansas.
Oh, good question there. Okay, it began with me bringing in a few things. I said, oh, they'll love this. This will be perfect. And after they got thrown out, basically starting from scratch and saying, well, okay, what is the essence of the music that makes these guys say yes to this and no to that? And then started really concentrating on that. And also there were certain things like, hey, we're getting a little bit too many of these kind of songs. We need a guitar riff song. And, I guess Phil keeps track of a lot of stuff as far as, what the band needs to do or is doing. And he said, we need more of this kind of thing. And Steve Walsh was bringing in material, and we were working together finally. Once we got started working together, it was real easy, because it seemed like if I brought in an idea that I didn't even that I wasn't sure what to do with. Steve could do something with it that I really liked. And we once we started working together, very few of the songs we did together didn't get used. And so that was a real nice thing to be able to do. And interestingly enough, all the ones that I brought in at the very beginning didn't get used. So it was the only way to make it happen was to sit down and say, wow, we've got to really agree on a lot of things in order to come up with this music, and we've got to work together. And so working together is what it's new for me, and it's real a lot of fun.
Good call, Mike. Thank you for it. Let's head out of Miami. WSHU, of course, is our station. We welcome to the Rockline Cindy. Hi there.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Cindy. How you doing?
First of all, I would like to compliment Bob Coburn. I really appreciate what you're doing. I think you're doing an excellent job. It's one of my favorite programs on radio. And my question is...
Thanks.
You're welcome. My question is for Phil, but anybody can answer it. I would like to know, first of all, whatever became... It's sort of a three-part question. Whatever happened with Robbie Steinhardt? Why did he leave Kansas? And do you think he'll ever maybe rejoin somebody's band somewhere someday?
Well, I guess being the band historian, I guess this is Phil speaking, so I guess I'll take that one. Robbie, I don't really know where to start because it was kind of a long process. Just became less and less involved with the band. That's really about the best way I can put it. And left the band somewhere around, I think, 1983. And it was he and his wife have about a year and a half ago had a baby daughter, and are doing fine. And I don't know if he's still playing. I think he is, but we have a lot of the same business contacts, so we are individually or indirectly, I should say, stay in touch as far as knowing how everybody's doing. And he's doing fine. And whether he'll ever be involved with Kansas again is really hard to say. We discussed on this album the use of the violin because the violin was the signature of the band for a long time. But now Steve Morse and Steve Walsh is really the signature of the band, and hopefully will continue to be. And with that kind of major talent together, you don't have much room for anything else, And that's how we decided we wanted to present this band. And now we do have some orchestration and violins on this record, and we may possibly have some live once we hit the road.
Now, would you bring in somebody, or would you do that, Steve Morse?
Well, good question. It depends on how it sounds. I would like to play some of the parts, some of
the Henny Youngman of rock and roll.
some of the simple parts, and maybe bring in you're
going to tell some jokes while you're playing and stuff?
It just depends. If we need real hard parts, sure, it's going to have to be a pro, but
Or else a synthesizer.
Right.
Cindy, thank you for your call. We appreciate it. Thanks for your comments, too. I certainly appreciate it. We're going to go back to Left Overture now and play another classic by Kansas. There are quite a few. This is Carry On My Wayward Son on Rockline. Song still sounds so good. Carry On My Wayward Son from Left Overture, played on compact disc, I might add. It's Rockline and Bob Coburn. We're with Steve, and Phil from Kansas this evening. Our next call is from Los Angeles. Our station, of course, is 95.5 KLOS, and we welcome to the Rockline Mike. Good evening.
How you guys doing?
Hey. Howdy.
All right. I'd like to ask who is the bass player in the band, and another question after that about your concerts. I'd like to first ask who's the bass player, and was he from any other band?
Well, this is Steve Walsh speaking, and yes, he worked with me in the band that I started after I left Kansas approximately 4 years ago. His name is Billy Greer, and he plays great bass, and he sings great, and he's a real addition, I feel, to the band. And I guess you have another question?
Yeah, I do. About your concerts, what size halls are you going to be playing, and how much old songs are you going to be playing with that?
Well, hopefully we will be playing a major headlining tour what would you say, Phil, in January?
Yeah, hoping to do January, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully by then we'll have all of our crew and all of our equipment and everything, and we'll have practiced the songs enough to where we can go out and play a major headline tour. And I would say that we'll be doing quite a bit of old material, really. I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
There you are, Mike. Thanks for being on tonight. A couple of good questions there. Well, before I put our next caller on the air, I have to congratulate him and just say that the Mets won the World Series, and I'm well aware of that. And don't rub it in, Ken, okay? We go to Rahway, New Jersey now to talk to Ken, listening to 92.3 New York's K-Rock. How you been?
You guys were preempted last week, by K-Rock because of that. But anyway, dead serious. They said they would air that show later, I think.
Who can blame them, really? Go ahead.
Anyway, I've been a fan of this band for a long, long time. You guys, the lineup that was in existence in '83 was part of the only major concert I've ever seen at the Meadowlands Arena in New Jersey, and it was quite an experience to actually be there to see or hear a band perform live. It's a totally new experience, a totally different experience if you've never gone through it. And with this band, it really gave it a new feeling. I'd like to know, do you have any plans to perform some of your previous solo material? Directing this question to Steve and Steve, do you have any plans to perform your previous solo material? In Steve Walsh's case, some of the Streets material, like If Love Should Go?
Well, I don't think we have any plans to do anything like that. We're really just trying to mold our image and our, each of our talents, if you will, into one congruous band, because we've all, been separate in, our own bands and whatnot for the past 4 years. I'm flattered that you're familiar with Streets, and I really think that we're just going to direct ourselves to just doing Kansas material.
And this is Steve Morse here. As far as doing any Steve Morse Band of Drag stuff, I don't think so, because if the name on the marquee is Kansas, I think we should do our best to give people the classics that they remember from Kansas, the best of the new stuff, and once you've done that, you've used up the whole show. That's really the bottom line right there. We want to, give people all the songs they can sing along to, and plus, the best of the new stuff.
And there are 12 albums to choose from now. Yeah. Ken, thanks for being on the air again. We appreciate it. We'll take a brief time out. We'll return in just a moment. Got more new songs to play. More telephone time for you to be on the air with Kansas. The number, if you don't have it, 1-800-344-ROCK. We're talking rock and roll on Rockline. Robert, meet Kansas.
Hi.
Hi.
Robert.
Howdy.
Mr. Walsh, welcome back.
Thank you.
Mr. Morris, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you all back together. Say, this occurred to me, Steve Walsh, didn't you do a version of that last song that was just played with Streets?
No, wait a minute.
Similar. It sounds, I could swear you did.
No, Robert, I think you've been hallucinating something. No. No, really, to answer truthfully, there was a song at one time that Streets did that never made it on an album that was called We're Not Alone Anymore. I can't believe you remembered that. And I'm sure you saw us at the, I forget the name of it.
Must have done it in concert. Yeah, it's the only way we would have.
Yeah, Robert must have saw us at a club that we used to play that we were famous in and at the time. But
that's pretty sharp.
Yeah, that's what?
When are you coming back?
Oh, very soon now. I'm sure we'll be touring there on the next tour that we're on,
which should be around January or so. Was that all your questions, Robert?
One more.
Okay.
How soon before we get a video?
Well,
heck, we're working on it right now.
Yeah,
actually,
you came from a video shoot over to the Rockline studio tonight, didn't
you?
Yes.
Yeah, we're doing a video. Actually, it'll be out sometime, I think, like the 3rd or 4th week in November.
And what song were you working on tonight?
All I Wanted.
All I Wanted, yeah. All right, Robert, thanks for being on the air with us tonight. We're going to turn it over to Matt, who is in Arlington Heights, Illinois, listening to the Loop FM 98 in Chicago. Hi, Matt.
How you doing?
Howdy.
Great.
That's good. Steve, this is to Steve Walsh.
Yes.
I was wondering if you're going to have any additional keyboard players on the tour with you.
We're thinking about it very strongly. I want to get out and and flip around and stuff. And so,
oh, not again.
Yeah, well, I didn't tell you that.
Oh, yeah, right.
I didn't tell Phil that, but yes,
we'll talk about it later. Huh?
But yeah, I think we are. I really, I think that would be a nice addition to have, actually.
Any additional musicians besides keyboardists? A possibility of a violin player we discussed earlier. Anything else as long as we're talking about it?
No, I think if we do play violin parts, though, it's going to be Steve Morris or it'll be him or and the synthesizers backing him up or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I like to cover some of the keyboard parts too. Just to trade off and do something different.
We're going to try to keep it self-contained if we can, but
we are.
It depends.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I thought I'd tell you that
on the air.
You've heard it first, right here.
Yeah, I better go home and practice this.
By the way, rehearsals tomorrow.
There you go, Matt. Thanks for the call. Let's talk to Gary now. He's in Detroit. Our station, of course, WRIF. Hi, Gary.
Hi, how you doing?
Great.
Hey, welcome back. Glad to hear you guys are back together again.
Well, thanks. Thanks a lot.
Question I had was, is Kansas as a group going to stray into different areas that they never touched before with the type of musicians lineup you had earlier?
Well, we hope to. It's I think if you listen on the album, we're already starting to go into some directions we've never been in before, and it's like what Steve Morris was saying earlier. We wanted to reestablish the roots of Kansas because in the last couple albums we had wandered so far from really the sound, from the horse that got us where we were really, and we wanted to reestablish those roots, but at the same time continue experimenting, and that's what I feel proud that Kansas has always been. Is that anytime you pick up a Kansas album, you never know what those guys are going to be doing, So it's like we try to experiment, and and I think you'll find that on the new Kansas album.
There you go, Gary. Thanks for your call. We'll take a brief time out. We're back for more, though. More rock and roll. More time for you to talk with our three members of Kansas. This is time for another call from Knoxville, Tennessee. This one is WIMZ-FM is our station. We welcome Angie to the Rockline. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Angie.
How you doing?
Okay.
Listen, I've got a general question directed to any of you. I want to know if you feel Kansas has received the recognition it deserves for all the years of work y'all put into it.
Well, that's a good question. Never been asked that before. And I guess I'd have to speak personally that yeah, because of our fans and the fans that have stuck with us through all the changes that we've gone through. I think it's really the fans that has really made it worthwhile to go to the trouble to put another version of Kansas together, and a version which I think, personally speaking, is the best version of Kansas we've ever had. And I think it's mainly because of the fans that you think, geez, are there still going to be people out there when we come back? And I think that's what makes it worth it. And I would have to answer yes. I think we've deserved the recognition, tenfold than we probably ever really deserved. And that's what's always in the back of your mind when you're trying to, put an album together and write a song.
It's not much fun playing to an empty auditorium. Angie, thank you for your call. I do appreciate it. By the way, we have a brand new mailing address, so grab a pen and paper if you're interested, and I'll pass it on to you in just a second. First, thanks for listening and for calling. Next week, we have Cheap Trick and John Parr. Coming soon, Steve Miller, David Lee Roth, Ray Davies of the Kinks, and much, much more. I can't say any more right now, but we have a tremendous lineup heading toward Christmas. Now, here's our new address, if you have that pen and paper ready. It's P.O. Box 4383, Hollywood, California, 90078. P.O. Box 4383, Hollywood, California, 90078. Thanks to Phil Ehart, Steve Morse, and Steve Walsh from Kansas for being here tonight. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Congratulations on an absolutely stunning new album.
Well,
good luck on the tour, which begins in January, and a thanks from me for doing the record digitally, which makes it so much more fun to listen to.
Well, thanks for having us.
All right. Thanks for being here. Good luck in the future. I'm BC, and I'll be seeing you in a week. You've been listening to Rockline, brought to you in part by Budweiser. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Rockline is engineered by Jimmy Height, Conrad Pignon, Jim Pettyjohn, and Steve Dumais, and mixed on Yamaha professional sound equipment. Special production by Jimmy Rash. Technical direction by Jim Nelson. Our thanks to C.W. West and Kevin Stevens for their special help. Our associate producer is Mark Felsott. Producer Cindy Tolan. Executive producer Howard Gilman. Rockline is a presentation of the Global Satellite Network for distribution in the United States by the ABC Rock Radio Network.